Hi, my name is Morgan Stamper. I am a senior at Oklahoma State University, and in December I will graduate with my bachelor's in animal science ranch operations. Currently, I am an intern for the Fatted Calf in Magdalena de Quino, Sonora, Mexico, and back in Stillwater, I work for the OSU Purebred Beef Center. Today, I will be talking about the differences and similarities of U.S. and Mexico beef production, how both countries can be improved, and how both countries are critical to global agriculture. The biggest difference between Mexico and U.S. beef production would have to be the climate factor. In the U.S., we are in a moderate temperate zone, making it easier to produce large amounts of grain and grass to feed our cattle. However, Mexico has 3 defined environment types according to the article Genotype by Climate Interaction in the Genetic Evaluation for Growing Traits of Bromvie Cattle in Mexico. They are defined as dry tropic, wet tropic, and temperate. This small variance of climate zones make it difficult for Mexican beef producers to access high-quality feeds year-round. Many cereal grains that are produced in Mexico are immediately used for human consumption, thus making the feed given to cattle poorer in quality, thus making cattle quality less as well. When asked what makes U.S. beef production different from the rest of the world, Dr. Mark Johnson says, "We have large amounts of land mass with high yields for growth. Along with this, we have fertile soil to use for cereal grain production, making it ideal to finish cattle on cereal grains such as corn. Consumer demand is also another factor in why beef production in the U.S. is different from other countries." Now I will talk about the main differences and similarities between the United States and Mexico beef production. In the U.S., there is better access to cereal grains such as corn, as well as better access to veterinary supplies for sick cattle. Because of our location in the world, we are able to produce enough crops to feed our people as well as our cattle. This sets us apart in the global economy and allows us to export more food and beef to other countries. In contrast, as a country, Mexico is very poor. However, the people still need to be able to eat and produce food for the country. This has become an issue for most farmers and ranchers as they are not only battling against the climate, but also the food supply and limited medical resources for cattle and all livestock. Now, even though Mexico has so many hindrances against it for beef production, there is still a demand for meat products for meals such as tacos, carne asada, and others. However, this is not only a common theme for the comparison of U.S. and Mexico, but also for countries across the world. Joel Lehman, the ranch manager for CVE, or Casa Vida y Esperanza, shares some more insight in the following clip.
The biggest hindrance is going to be just capital, just having the money to be able to complete your vision. So the reason why genetics don't move faster is because there's not the money to go after them. There's not the money to be put into breed associations, and there's not money to get put into infrastructure, building corrals, bettering pastures, things of that nature. So really they just don't have the resources that many of the U.S. ranchers do.
I was fortunate enough to be able to talk with Dr. Dwayne Wolf about the differences and similarities of U.S. and Mexico beef production. In the following clip, he will further explain the differences of these two countries.
The main differences, I think, is that the U.S. is more uniform in how cattle are raised, and even though there's a wide variety in the U.S., there's still rations are balanced to reach optimal gains, which usually higher gains result in lower cost of production because you have less total maintenance during the life of that animal, less nutrients going to maintenance. So that's usually done a lot more efficiently in the U.S. Through the use of balanced diets. And in Mexico, there's kind of 2 systems of beef production, or 2 parts to the beef industry. One is a part that does the finishing on a larger scale and does use balanced diets and nutritionalists, professional nutritionalists, consultants, and then there's another part that just the cattle or eat whatever's available during that time of the year. And whenever you need some more beef, you go slaughter one. And it may be of any age or degree of fatness. The other major difference is the cattle going into the finishing program in the U.S. are either coming straight off of weaning or coming off of a background program. But either way, we have a pretty good idea. They're fairly consistent in age and therefore fairly uniform in age. I mean, they may be younger if they're just weanlings, or they may be older if they've been backgrounded, but they're still within that group a pretty fair or pretty narrow range of age. Where in New Mexico, cattle coming into a feedlot might be vast array of ages, all within probably a year of time, but still a lot more variety in age than in the U.S. So when you look at the finished cattle as they're slaughtered, there will be more variety in age in Mexican beef than there will be in U.S. beef. And so part of that is because a lot of the cows in the U.S., I think in general, the calving seasons are more controlled and shorter. And in Mexico, the bull runs with the cows for a longer period of time. All these things I'm saying are very generalized things. There's certainly people in Mexico that have very tight calving seasons and very good control over age. There's people in the U.S. that don't, that leave the bull run with the cows all year round. But in generalities is what I'm talking about.
Now I will begin to get into more detail about the specific traits that make U.S. beef production and Mexico beef production different as well as similar. I will begin with nutritional quality. Now in the U.S., we are in an optimum area for nutritional quality of beef production. We are able to not only produce enough grain for the human population, but also as well as for our beef production and livestock production. However, in Mexico, the nutritional quality is highly variable according to the rainy seasons and different times of the year. Most of this feed is really dependent on when it rains and financial abilities of the farmer or rancher. Now, in terms of reproductive efficiency, the U.S. has really prevailed in this aspect of beef production. The U.S. has realized the importance of genetic merit and also reproductive efficiency of cattle. Artificial insemination, superovulation, and flushing have become a staple for U.S. beef production. Now, when directly compared to the U.S., Mexico could use some improvements in terms of reproductive efficiency. Now, since nutritional quality is more variable in Mexico, as is the reproductive efficiency of many cow herds. And in this study, prevalence of abortion and stillbirth in a beef cattle system in southeastern Mexico, stillbirths and abortions were more prevalent during the rainy seasons due to disease. In terms of veterinary care, in the U.S. it is much easier to get vet supplies while still being able to meet one's bottom line. However, in comparison, while it is easier to obtain your veterinary degree in Mexico, which is only 5 years total, there are more vets available. However, the cost of vet supplies is increased, as well as it is harder for ranchers to meet their bottom line, to make a profit, and to be able to have the financial means necessary to obtain those supplies needed. We know that the U.S. is already a critical player in the export of beef to other countries. Because of this, Mexico has had to rely on the U.S. to supply beef in recent years. Because Mexico has increased consumer demand, however, they have not increased or improved their efficiency of their beef herd and have not been able to financially support their herds as a whole. So in conclusion, Mexico could eventually play a crucial role in terms of global beef production, as long as they receive assistance from the U.S. beef producers and are willing to receive that assistance. This would also help the country to better equip themselves to be able to meet consumer demand as it is needed. Thank you.